Hi everyone, just tagging on to the beginning of a video that I had used last term. Obviously we're in these Edpuzzle videos. For those of you that have not been in class with me before, we do these each week to kind of review info from the prior week, perhaps preview some of the info from this week, and that's where we're going with this video. I actually just chose to use a video that I recorded last term, which had all of the same information in it. But if you have any questions about the ed puzzles or how this works or what you can expect, just please feel free to reach out. Thanks. So this last week we talked about public health and how that hopefully you learned a bit about public health and population health. And the reason that it's really important for us to learn about population health, outside of the fact that it is vital to our industry, is that we are really moving toward a more of a care coordination and population health model in the traditional healthcare setting. So we're really looking more at how can we make everyone well instead of just constantly treating the sick. So it's really a merger between public health and traditional healthcare. Obviously, our industry was built on treating sick people, and public health obviously was built on a more broad spectrum. So how are we able to merge those two? And hopefully you got a feel for that. For those that aren't very well versed, and a lot of us aren't, I myself have thought of going back to school and getting a master's in public health, just to really get that more rooted education in public health. I know what I know, but I don't know what I don't know. So I'm sure there's a lot that I don't know about the public health industry. But so hopefully you got a good feel for population health and got some background in that through some of the reading and the videos that we have. Hopefully, thank you for indulging my fun introduction as well. I know that most of you really do know each other pretty well by now. We've all heard, the info about where we work and where we live and all that stuff. So I always appreciate getting to know each other on a little bit more detailed level. So in our reflection, and I haven't started grading them yet, but in our reflection, I'm looking forward to seeing, and it is kind of a pretest, you'll see in a later week, you'll write a similar paper again to hopefully kind of test where your knowledge has gone with regard to population health. So we'll see that hopefully your knowledge blooms with regard to population health. But in our discussion, we talked about those 10 essential public health services. We'll look at that grid here in a second, and really how do those public health structures, those public health, those 10 essential public health services, how do they really work with our traditional healthcare system, which is where most of us work or want to work. So, how do those work? And then also, like Healthy People 2020, we think about we're going to take a look at things like community health assessments. This intersection between public health and private healthcare, not private, but traditional healthcare, in some cases is private healthcare, is so important. So what are those, how do they work hand in hand? And you had some great ideas as to how we can create that intersection. So I'm going to go back to the PowerPoint here. So here are those 10 essential public health services. So things like inform, educate, and empower is a great example of how public health has been good at that for a long time, but it hasn't always been effective because they weren't reaching the people. We always have the people. They're always in our space. So how can we do that in a better way? How can we inform them and educate them and empower them to be more well, to stop smoking, to eat more healthfully, those types of things. Things like mobilizing community partnerships. How can we, in our traditional healthcare setting, mobilize those partnerships with folks in the community to provide access to more healthy food options, to get people moving, those types of things. So I have a wellness mindset, because I've done research on wellness. So I'm always thinking those types of wellness things. But it doesn't have to be wellness. It can be care for chronic conditions. It can be all kinds of things. So there's lots of ways that we can draw those parallels between our traditional healthcare setting and our public health side, and so many things. Assure a competent workforce. Many of you, any of you that are in managerial positions now in your setting, or even if you're in a staff position and you struggle with short staffing, be it if you're in a staff position and you have to pick up the slack because there aren't enough people in your department, or if you're in a managerial position and you struggle because you can't get enough good people to hire. I was just speaking with one of our adjunct faculty members today that's an HR person, and she said they just can't hire enough CNAs. There just aren't enough out there. So assuring a competent workforce, something on the public health side, because they want, what kinds of training programs can they do to get people into those roles that are competent and qualified and will stick around. We need not just people that are trained but have good attitudes and will stick around and provide good quality care, but then on our side, on the traditional healthcare side, what can we do to help draw those two things together? Lots of grant programs out there right now to help increase competent quality workforce, to do training, et cetera, et cetera. So lots of ways, and everyone in the Flipgrid had some great ideas on how to draw some of these parallels. So great job. So let's go back to the classroom here for a second. So this week upcoming, flip over to week 2. This week upcoming, we're actually going to move over and talk. This course is where we really learn a little bit about managerial epidemiology. So, another aspect of public health is obviously going to be epidemiology. And what do we care about epidemiology? The managerial epidemiology aspects. So how can we, in the managerial side, how can we use epidemiology how can we use that data as a leader to affect our organization? So we're going to learn a little bit about it. We're going to talk a little bit, or look a little bit at clinical business intelligence. There's a couple of readings there. We have our chapters as well. Obviously, we have our Flipgrid this week, where we're going to be looking at a case study in the textbook. And then what I want you to do is answer one of the 4 questions. You don't have to answer all 4. So hopefully we'll get a variation on different questions that you answer. And then we can discuss what everyone's answers are throughout our replies. Why would different folks look at those different answers? And then we do have a written assignment this week, which there are some data points that we will be looking at from the PH Partners website. And hopefully I got to put that link in here because it disappeared out of the assignment. So I'll be adding the link above to the PH Partners website, and so we can you'll be able to pull that data and choose a data set and look at where you might be able to make improvements, etc. So it's an interesting assignment, and it's completely up to you which data set you choose. But being able to dig into that epidemiological data and determine what might be helpful. So any questions, please let me know. I'll put that data set. I'm glad I dug in here. So I knew that link disappeared. That's the bad part about Turnitin assignments. So I'll put that up here in the outline section. That's where I'll put that link. And any questions, please just let me know. Thanks.